Okay, Christian, today is a big day. Today's the day where I get to teach you everything that I know about how to fairly shuffle a deck of cards. Keyword fairly. Now, there's a lot of different ways of actually doing it. There's several different techniques that you could use. I'm going to show you the way that I do it, and then maybe later on I'll show you some other techniques that, if it doesn't fit your hands right, then I'll show you some other ways of doing it. But for now, I'm going to show you my way. There are a lot of things that you don't want to do. One of those things is pick the deck up off the table. That never happens. You will never, ever, ever do this while you're shuffling a deck. It should be self-explanatory. Don't want to flash that bottom card. If you're in a professional setting, that's why we use cut cards. You cut the deck onto the cut card so that if, for whatever reason, oh, my arm is itchy, you see the cut card and not the bottom card. So, little tangent aside. The way you shuffle cards is very important. Like I said, there's a lot of techniques. I'm going to show you mine. Before we get too much into it, there's 5 distinct steps for the way that I do my shuffle. I'll break them down as we go, but before we start, I'm going to show you each step. I'll do it slowly. Well, I'll show you at full speed first. So my shuffle, kind of just at a normal pace, looks like this. If I were to break it down into its 5 steps, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I just keep doing this, you can see the 5 steps happen. If I do it slowly, you can see that there's sort of a rhythm to it, and that's important for this. It's important to make this flow efficiently. Now, before I break down the steps, the most important thing for this, you have to know the grips. There's 2 different grips that I use for this shuffle. One grip I'm going to call your home grip, because it's where you start and it's where you finish. The other grip I'm going to call ring pinky grip. It'll make sense why in a second. So for home grip, I'm going to show you with one hand, but you're going to mirror this with both hands. So for home grip, your middle finger is going to go close to the corner on the long edge. Your thumb is going to mirror it on the other side. And then your ring finger is going to hit the short edge of the deck, pretty close to the corner as well. And you want to think of this as a box. You're boxing the deck in, you're caging it, you're preventing it from moving around. Because if this ring finger wasn't there, if I just had open sides, the deck is very easy to lose control of. So that's why these fingers are here. It prevents the deck from leaving my control, if that makes sense. I'm barely touching it at all. In fact, I'm not touching it right now. But if I move around, you can see the deck move, but it's not going anywhere. It's because it's caged in by the grip. So that's your home grip. That's where you start. The other grip you're going to use is middle or ring pinky grip. And it's basically the same thing as your home grip, except you bring your ring finger to the short edge, to the long edge, along with your middle finger, and your pinky is now on the short edge. So instead of boxing it in like this, you're boxing it in like this. And same concept applies. That deck isn't going anywhere. It's always in my control as long as the short edges are caged in like this. Now, when you're doing this shuffle method, there are grip changes that occur in between certain steps, and these grip changes are non-negotiable. They have to be where they are. There is no better place for them. They have to happen, they have to be where they are, and the reason for that is it makes the shuffle as efficient as it is. I'll get into that more as I go, but just know these grip changes and having the 2 grips is beyond necessary. It is so important to make this flow. So with all that said, we have our grips, we have our understanding of the steps, we know that grip changes are coming. Here it is. So, you start in your home grip. It's middle finger, ring finger, thumb. And one nice detail about this that people don't often say, it's kind of taken for granted, whichever packet you're pulling, like whichever side the top packet goes to, that's the hand you want to break the deck with, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't break with this hand and then try to pull that packet to the left. So if I'm pulling the packet to the left, I'm breaking it with the left hand. Okay, anyways. So for me, I pull it to the left. You can pull it to the right. Doesn't make a difference. So for me, I break it here and both hands separate together. This is very important. You don't want to do this and you don't want to do this. Both hands have to separate together. Now, you're in this position, you let go of everything, literally, sitting on the table, and this is where the first grip change happens, in between steps 1 and 2. So those 2 steps are this, here, here. There's 1, 2. Watch what happens to my grip in between those steps. 1, 2. You go from the grips in between. So the first step is the separation. The second step is the squaring of the packets. And the way that you're meant to do this, you don't want to change grips here deliberately and then come in. It's all one motion, apart together. And in that motion, I'll do it slow. Watch the grip. Here, here. It's one smooth motion. That's very important. So that's the first 2 steps. You split and then you square them against each other. And you don't want to do this too hard. It doesn't need to be that big of a deal. Sometimes you don't even need to do that at all. It's kind of a passing moment to give you time to re-grip. But that being said, it is a good idea to get into that habit early on. One detail, I don't know if I mentioned it yet, so I won't go too deep into it. When you split the deck, you want to leave a little bit of space here. You don't want this. Well, this would be fine. You don't want this, like right out the gate, because then, you know, it's kind of awkward. At the same time, you don't want to come all the way out here. So for our purposes, my recommendation would be something like this. Just maybe like 1/2 inch to 1 inch worth of separation. So, little recap. You got your home grip, middle ring, and then the thumb in the back. You split, you pull, you drop. As you re-grip, you square them together. Now, this is the easy step. This is the riffle. I say it's easy. There's a lot that people take for granted. When you do the riffle, the thing that I see people get wrong is they try to like, I don't even know how to describe it. They like try to bend up like the whole side of the deck, if that makes sense. Like they're trying to like do one of these, right? And they do this whole thing. That's not necessary. All you have to do is lift up just that corner. If you look at this corner of the deck, like the back corner here, this corner barely moves at all. But this side is being lifted. It's just the corners that need to be lifted. So when you practice this, take just half the deck and just riffle it like this. You want your wrist, you don't want your wrist up here. You want your wrist to be as flat to the table as you can, even touching the table, like the palm of your hand. When you're doing this, it's not a bad thing to have the palm of your hands on the table physically. And that teaches you to keep your wrists down. You don't want them up here. Your wrists gotta be down. So, you split, you re-grip, you square. Now at this point, your thumbs want to, you don't have to go all the way to the corner here. You don't have to. You can. For me personally, when I do this, my thumbs are about here. They've got maybe like 1/2 inch worth of corner, still not, you know, I hope that makes sense. I've got like half an inch of room here when I do my shuffle on both sides. So it looks like this for me. Like I said, this can vary, but I wouldn't go further out than that. I would stay here or just all the way. It's up to you. But keep them in. Keep the thumbs in for sure. This is a good moment to talk about. There's two types of riffle shuffles. There's an open and a closed riffle shuffle. This is an open shuffle. And this is a closed shuffle. The difference is where the thumb is on the deck. See, in an open shuffle, if I were to come over here, if in an open shuffle, you can see all those cards. Even if I try to keep it low, you can still kind of barely glimpse them a little bit. But during a closed shuffle, you don't see anything because my thumb is in the way. And that's very important. In fact, that's something I see a lot of dealers even now. They get that wrong. They do these big exaggerated riffle shuffles and it's like you're showing the whole table those cards. You can't do that. You have to keep the riffle small, low, and it has to be closed. You can't let people see those cards. That's very important. So, again, little tangent aside, but important nonetheless. So, little recap. Home grip, split, regrip, square, shuffle. Now, one detail that I'll mention now, notice there's not much V in this deck right now. You can use a V like this. You don't have to. The better you get at it, the V is very, very small. Sometimes I'll even just shuffle just straight on, and that's okay. You can do that. It comes down to preference, really. So just keep that in mind. You can use a big V if you want to, but it's not necessary. Okay, so we covered about half the shuffle. We're here right now. Now there's 2 steps left. These are the 2 most important steps because there's another regrip in between these steps as well. In between steps 4 and 5, there is a regrip. So just to recap where the other regrip is, it's between steps 1 and 2. So 1, regrip, 2. Now in between steps 4 and 5, 4, 5, there's another regrip. So this is the mechanics of the square. I call these 2 actions the squaring actions. There's 2 of them. There's 2 squaring actions in the riffle shuffle, the method that I use. So this is step 3. Step 4, you're going to use your pinkies that are on the short edge right now and give it one good push. In your first fingers will touch. That's okay. You get to about here. This is where you come back for the second squaring action. And this is where your regrip is. Because right now it's kind of awkward if you try to square them completely now because my first fingers are literally in the way. That's why you have to regrip. So you're here, square, the first fingers touch, and you come back to your home grip with your ring and middle finger, and you come in for that final square. And you're like whipping, how do I describe it? If you watch my wrists, I'm like rotating out and pushing in. So it's here, and they like whip into the deck. Like that. So, that's essentially it. There's not really much else that I can cover on that, honestly. What do you think? It's important that as soon as you get the riffle in, like as soon as the riffle is complete, you push. That happens very, very quickly. So it's here, and you push immediately. And that's just so the cards don't run away. Because I'll show you, if you leave the deck like this, they can spill pretty easy. That's quite common, actually. So it's important that as soon as they're interlaced, you push them in. That way they don't go anywhere. So they're here, push, and then you come back, push. And this leaves you you'll notice this is exactly the position you started in. That's why it's our home grip. You start and finish in the same grip so that you can just repeat this cycle endlessly. It's quite efficient, honestly. It's almost like the guy who came up with it is a pretty smart guy. Pat on the back. Anyways, yeah, that's shuffle mechanics. At least in a nutshell. There's more detail that you could go into. There's lots and lots and lots of little fucking things that if we get into it on a video chat, then I'll definitely tell you about. But as far as what you need right now, this is it. What is this? This 16-minute video has everything that you need to practice this and get good at it. Oh fuck, aside from this one detail, here's how you practice it. You have to go so fucking slow, it's not even funny. You're a musician too, you know what a metronome is. Get a metronome, set it to like 40 BPM or even slower, and do each beat. All right, let me try to, so I'm gonna do it at this speed. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. I missed the second action. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you hit every beat consistently. You do that 1,000 times, and then you up the speed. The more you do this, the faster you get. Eventually, it'll be second nature. You'll be able to do this over and 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 over again. It just takes time. You have to put in the time. You have to be glued to this surface. That is the number one thing that will get you good. There is no secret to getting good skills other than repetition. You have to just sit here and do it. That being said, that's all I got for you. It's a long fucking video, but watch it like 10 times. You're probably gonna need it. There's a lot of information here. Yeah. Good luck, brother. Good luck.